Okay, for this video, we're going to bring you guys up to speed on the all-wheel drive converted Mark 5 GTI. There's a lot to go over for people that are new to the channel, so we're going to bring you guys up to speed and show you where we're at now with it. Okay, we're going to bring people up to speed, Clayton, on this thing. So, you probably would have seen a little bit in the intro. All-wheel drive conversion, big turbo. We've done all kinds of things to this thing.
We got like, what, 8 videos on this thing?
7 or 8 videos.
I think at one point on my folders, it was like, this car part, question mark.
Yeah, I would agree. So, but it's very detailed, probably the most detailed project we've done on the channel. So, if you're looking or interested in doing anything to do with all-wheel drive swaps in a Mark 5, Mark 6, even really a Mark 7. There's lots of good detail in the playlist. I'll link it above.
And some of it even
check it out.
Even some of it pertains to like even earlier than that too. What we went over with transmission and stuff. A little bit. Yeah,
so then I was going to comment on that actually. Okay. So the all-wheel drive stuff is all in that playlist, but also then we get into building the engine, building a fully built transmission. There's tons of stuff in this thing. We have the manifold to build now, so let's get to it. Okay, so we're about to start working on the manifold for the all-wheel drive conversion, big turbo, TSI, and all the other fixings that it has. But first, I wanted to show you, because I didn't show you in the previous video when we finished the transmission, of bolting on the angle drive. So I'm going to just show you guys that now. This is basically the angle drive from like a Mark 6 Golf R or an A3. There's a handful of cars that this can come from. And as you would have seen in the previous video on this car, this is the stock 2-liter turbo front-wheel drive transmission, which we've done a whole bunch of upgrades to. But one of those things is we switched out the differential. We upgraded it, but also switched it out to a all-wheel drive differential. So with that being changed out, because these holes are here, we can now mount the angle drive. And I probably can't do this with one hand because this isn't that light, but I'll try. Oh, no, not gonna happen. Let's see what I can do here to set this up. This is the all-wheel drive. Bevel box, angle drive, whatever you want to call it. We're going to put this into the front wheel drive transmission with the upgraded differential in it. And as you can see, it lines up, everything's good. I just got to put the bolts in here. There's 4 bolts that hold to the case, and as you've seen, the case is already pre-drilled and tapped. And then I have to put the 1 Allen bolt that goes down through the center here. But now that we have that done, and I've already mocked this up, I have a collector and the V-band flange already tacked up and kind of mounted in a general area of where I want it. And I'll show you kind of how the turbo fits. This isn't going to be 100% yet, but at least gives us the ability to start mocking up the manifold and see where it needs to go. Okay, so what I've done is we mounted up the old APR kit that was on this. This isn't exactly what was available from APR. This is a GTX 3076 Gen 1, I believe, is what I put on this way back. The kits originally came with, I think, a GT28 or GT3071, I think APR kit came with originally, then a GTX28, something like that. Anyways, this is close. We mounted up the manifold and turbo, put it on the engine, got a good idea of where the new turbo needs to go. Obviously this one is bigger in every proportion, so we're going to lose a lot of space, but if I can keep it in the general area of where this one was, then we're going to know that it should all fit. Obviously I'm going to test it all out, putting it in the car and stuff. So now as I would have shown already, I have mocked up a general idea of where the turbo should go in relation to the back of the motor and the angle drive. And this isn't easy for me to do because these G series turbos are extremely heavy to do with one hand, but I'll struggle for a second. You get the idea. So it's going to go in around here. We've already kind of test mocked it up. So now we got to get to building the actual runners for the manifold and kind of get a layout of how that's all going to fit in here. And I'll show you how we're going to do that just in a second. Man, that's heavy. Okay, so now to show you guys how we're going to build the manifold. I'm taking off my tuning hat and putting on my fabrication hat. As we got to build the manifold for this. So what I use, and I have used quite a few times over the years, are these IC Engine Works, I believe that's how they pronounce it, kits. These are basically like Lego for adults. So there's plenty of, I don't know what kit, is the Pro kit or something like that. It comes with lots of pieces, and they're all angled in a way that we can completely replicate this size Schedule 10 pipe that I'm using. I always use 1.5 inch because we're always going to try for more power in most turbo applications, so better to have the best flow possible. So these come in many different sizes, many different angles, but there's lots of straight pieces. So basically we're just going to start piecing this together and do a couple layouts of what we think is going to fit the best on the back of that engine. And then when I'm happy with the fitment and the layout, then basically all we got to do, as you can see here, this is 3 pieces and there's lines on the back that show you exactly the fitment and the angle that you need, and they correlate to the exact size of the Schedule 10 pipe. So if you bend this piece or need to twist it, again trying to do this with one hand, not happening. Let me twist it for you. You can see the arrows don't line up, and now this is kind of going in a little bit of an S kind of a turn. So it's really easy to replicate the manifold when you know exactly where the angles need to be cut and how to position them. For me, because we're not doing the same project over and over again, these kits are very expensive, but I very seldom build the same manifold twice. Yes, I have built a few of certain manifolds, 2.5 manifolds and stuff like that over the years, but in most cases the manifolds that we're building are specific to the application. So for something like this, it saves a whole bunch of time, especially if you're doing a different manifold. So right now I'm doing a 2-liter one. Right after this, or maybe alongside this, I'm going to be doing a 2.5 turbo one and a R32 tubular manifold as well. So because of these kind of kits, we can hammer through the layout really quickly and not waste a bunch of materials. If I was just building 2-liter manifolds specifically, then yeah, this wouldn't really be necessary. You would just build one and then just copy it 100 times over. But every time I build a manifold, whether it's my drag car or customer cars or whatever, we're usually building something unique, and these kits really help out. So let's get to doing the fitment and trying to get a good way out of this thing. I got the engine actually bolted in now so we can see what kind of clearance we're dealing with in the back in regards to the manifold, and obviously there's tons of room back there the way it's set up now. And I also put the wastegate in, tested out where the wastegate fitment's going to go, and it gives us, just crawling under the hoist here, it gives us tons of room on this side for the intake to come down, kind of similar to the way the APR kit was originally, but the intake will come up this way and likely cross over or maybe come down into here. Haven't decided that yet. Either way, there's tons of room over there, and now we're ready to take the engine back out and start fabrication. Okay, engine's out again. I just figured I'd show you guys what was going on with the wastegate. We're gonna probably put it something like this. It's gonna be some variation of this, but although it looks like it's sticking way off the back, there's plenty of room back there for it the way it is like this. That's why I put the engine in, to test it all. So I'll probably mock this all up, like build the manifold out of stainless, get it all kind of situated, tacked up, test fit it again. I have the engine kind of set up now that I can kind of roll it in and out and bolt it up pretty easily. And then I'll do the wastegate part of it, but I just wanted to fit this in just to make sure that there was plenty of room back there for it before I go ahead and start making it all out of metal. So now that we got these all laid out, we have to, I got a box of endless weld L's, all different angles and stuff. We basically have to replicate these in metal so we can start tacking it all together and actually building the manifold. All right, there we have it. It's all tacked up. I didn't film much of the process of tacking it up because it was a bit of a struggle, and it was on the struggle bus a little bit trying to do all this. But I got it tacked up. I just wanted to, I put the turbo on it just to see how it all fit, check out clearances. Everything's good. It's obviously very tight back here with the G900. I still have to take it all apart, clean it all up, back purge it, weld it all solid. I'm going to weld all the runners separately and then weld it up as one final piece. So we'll show you guys in a future video of that. Future video of that, Clayton?
Future video of that.
Clayton's standing beside me watching me film. So that's going to do it for the manifold. Period.
That's good. Looking pretty fancy.
Pretty all right?
Pretty all right.
We have a lot to do to that still. As mentioned, it's all going to come apart, but once the manifold's welded up, we'll be able to mount the turbo and get it in the car so we can start looking at downpipe placement and charge piping and all that stuff. We have a bunch of the fueling stuff for it here, but the manifold really needed to happen so we get the engine back in the car so we can get the ball rolling on a bunch of other stuff. So if you guys have any questions or comment, be sure, as always, ask them below. If you haven't, what's the ending? I don't even know the ending anymore.
If you have any questions, ask them below.
I'm done. I'm done with you, dude. Done. Bye.